Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka NBT. And we are back with another thread. Today we're talking about, that duelist. You all know the one. It's the one of your locals who will never stop talking about how these disgusting meta sheep can't think for themselves and play a deck that accentuates their skill. Instead, just ripping a list off of Jesse Cotton's newest video and showing up to locals to beat everyone. Well, I'd like to see you beat my Blue Eyes White Dragon, etc., etc. What frustrates me about this people is frequently they harangue everybody for playing top-tier meta strategies, only to realize that their desire to pilot something that plays to their strengths mostly means just playing a stun deck. It's like, I'm going to play the same stupid stun deck over and over again. Today, I want to talk about what decks are the most likely to be played by this class of duelist, and we're going to begin with mine. That's Fossil Dynapachycephalo. You filthy net deckers haven't had an original thought in your life. You couldn't duel your way out of a paper bag. Anyway, normal summon Fossil Dyna, set 3, Moonmirror Shield, go. Let's see what you all came up with. But first, new Will of the Council merch PogChamp, new Will of the Council merch PogChamp. In case you're unfamiliar, fellow Yugists Luke Von Karma, Peeps Yugioh, and I all have a podcast. On it, we talk about Reddit. We released some merch for this podcast, Will of the Council, a couple of months back, and it went out almost immediately. People have been DMing me since asking how they can get their hands on it, and here's how. The fine folks at Pyramid have released another wave of Will of the Council merch. We found like under a dozen of the kill button shirts, a bunch more of the enamel pins, and recently made some more dad hats. And also this trucker hat. That looks cool, probably. For the next 30 days, you can get 10% off your order with the discount code right here, the one that's right here in front of my face. Okay, that's it. Back to the video. Dyer's got a great one in the same vein. If I saw someone play this in 2018, it was on site. God, there was a pretty significant amount of time that Inspector Border was legitimately quite playable, and that entire time was just awful to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Cool, man. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm glad that Skill Drain can win the game now. A lot of individuals that fall into this category. Dinomorphia is an exceptionally popular deck with this class of duelist. I think it has to do with the fact that the playstyle basically just makes a big-ass skill train and forces your opponent to out it. And the outs for this card are pretty numerous. There's like a billion things that deal with this. But every time you play them, for some reason, you never seem to have it. And you get to stare down a Rexstorm while they go, "See, I told you your meta slop couldn't beat this." Yeah, cool. You're at 7 life points. That's nice. Yeah, awesome. Oh my god. This is the one, man. This is the one. Mikanko is that fucking deck. I can't believe they printed more support for this strategy. One of the most irritating strategies in modern memory, and one with a specific alert of this type of player because the whole time you're winning, your opponent's like squirming for an answer. So they get to go, "Your deck has nothing to defeat my powerful card." It also, as this poster alludes to, puts them in a great position. If you can't beat it, then they've masterfully played around your meta deck with their insane rogue strat. And if you do have it, well, it's just because modern decks do everything, and that's just not fair. Yeah, mine release was like Christmas to this type of person. Listen, no hate to Jeff Leonard, but everyone but him that played this strategy really irritated me. There was a guy in my locals on Mind Stun right after the Albaz Strike structure released who wasn't using Cauldron to burn. Instead, he wanted to make sure he could live long enough to win with Countdown even if the mine got outed. Oh my god. That's like not impossible either. You get to a point with Cauldron of the Old Man where they're just not able to do more damage than you are healing. Blech. Yeah, this is another classic. Most of the blind second decks fall into this category. A lot of times people will be playing like a whole bunch of board breakers and then a card that reads, "I win the game if I normal summon this onto an empty board." Think Tenpai and the like. But for some reason, the biggest concentration of these assholes seems to be drawn to Ancient Gear. Ancient Gear is a deck almost tailor-made for this kind of player because if you supplement it with board wipes, all the Ancient Gear cards just read, "You can't interact with me." So they never really have to engage with what you're doing. The duel gets to be all about them. And boy, will they let you know it. Haha, you couldn't be my Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Yup, you got me. Millennium was a perfect archetype for these people. It's only really got the one play. You get to play the B-Boomer cards all through it. And mostly what it ends up doing is summoning a big guy that is 1 negate and setting a couple of board wipes. Mogul has driven a spear through my brain. Says, "I've seen your exact example so many times it's crazy," and then posts Crimson Nova the Dark Cubic Lord. There was such an extended period of time where this was functionally the dual spirit for this type of complainer. You freaking meta Andes. Anyway, we're both taking 3,000. Blue Fluanderies is all through this thread, people saying, you know, this is the boomer deck, and it's got me a little nostalgic. I played a lot of Flu when it first came out. I remember going to an OTS that was like clearly someone's converted basement during release week, playing this deck and finding out in real time that it was 10 times more broken than I had first anticipated. But it's shocking seeing people in the thread talk about how this is the classic boomers deck, when to me, it's still a pretty modern invention. No, retro means like tomato control. Fluanderies is still pretty new. It's only 5 years old. This one's got an exceptionally interesting bit of lore behind it. Six Samurai is forever a tainted existence in the United Arab Emirates Yu-Gi-Oh scene, because we had a guy who one-tricked it, played FDKs to beat meta, and eventually got banned from OTSs over cheating allegations and tons of rule sharking. I'll have to take your word for it, but Six Samurai is a good example of a deck that fits the prompt. It permits you to just circumvent the act of playing Yu-Gi-Oh by following a combo spreadsheet that you have memorized, and if you're allowed, you can take like a 40-minute turn one. I mean, you probably will just get scooped on, but you could. Ra's a classic one. All of the god cards, of course, but Ra has the most support. It's the deck that could conceivably be played and win games. So if you sit against someone who is playing the true sun god, you know you are in for a time. DS Pikachu says, I am that player. No one ever reads the special summoned monsters battle effect. Also, I already tributed 3+ of their monsters, so they're already triggered. Look, they're inventing a scenario where they get to needle the disgusting meta Andy in the thread. At least they're self-aware, man. At least they're self-aware. Raw players love doing this. They love watching you set up your board, then smirking and handing you a ball, being like, bet you never saw that before. Yeah, dog. Better decks than you have been doing this. I was so excited to finally cut my teeth on this matchup when I saw the local stun player had Aneacraft titles on Neuron, only to find out that dumbass mains 3 Vanities Fiend. You know, it's really unfortunate because I think Aneacraft is actually not a particularly frustrating deck to play against. Like, navigating their sets makes sense if you know what the Aneacrafts do. And ultimately, they are just guys that sit on the field. The problem is they are always paired with those cards. The Vanities Fiends, the Dimensional Fissures. I mean, you know. In a world where you were just playing the Aneacrafts, this would be pretty interesting. We don't live in that world. Oh! Yeah, man. One of the greats in you freaking meta sheep deck design. I remember my first local back after taking a bit of a hiatus during Dragon Ruler formats. I was playing Burning Abyss, and my opponent revealed they were on Grenmaju Soul Absorption. During my first turn, they got to something like 30,000 life points, and I remember being like, that's crazy. I'd never seen it before. And then I beat them. Like, I just did 15,000 damage 2 turns in a row. They were like, you got it. I was like, huh, I sort of expected that would do more. This is a good one too. It says, it's not a floodgate, but hear me out. Listen, you don't have to be playing a heinous-ass floodgate deck. You can just be playing B-Boomer shit. Blue Eyes being a good deck, not once but twice, was really strange for the community, because usually the individuals playing this strategy are like 32-year-olds hopped up on nostalgia, excited to be able to take the old dragon out for a spin. For a short time, they were actually winning. Yes, there are still people who are one-tricking Blue Eyes in the year of our Lord, 2024. It's 2026. What I've learned scrolling past the same answer over and over again in this thread is that there exists a metagame under the actual metagame. There's the meta full of Cool Tune that all of these individuals complain about, but there's a smaller sub-metagame of decks that the people who do the complaining play. And in there, Stun and OTK is top tier. I'm a chud, I'm a chud, I'm a fat little chud.